We are also expecting to speak to Nadia Rehman. Nadia Rehman is a Muslim British Pakistani writer, the founder and CEO of You and Me Publishing, which is an independent publishing house. She is also author of Zainab Little Rabbit. With a background in marketing and communications, Nadia decided to embark on a journey of writing and publishing after the birth of her daughter at the beginning of the pandemic. And Nadia would read to her daughter and recognize that these stories were incredible, yet they lacked representation of her faith or culture. Born and raised in West London in the late 80s, Nadia was exposed to fascinating multicultural society surrounded by people from different cultures and faiths. Her mission is to inspire children's imaginations and share stories of Islamic values and a multicultural society. Islamic values are universal to all, so anyone can pick up a book and read stories about you and me. So that is a short introduction of our next guest, Nadia Rehman, who I'm pleased to note is on the line with us. Thank you very much for joining us at the Breakfast Show.
Thank you for having me.
For the benefit of our listeners, Nadia, can you tell us a bit about yourself and You and Me Publishing? I've given a brief introduction to you, but I'm sure you can do a better job.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me on the show. My name is Nadia Rehman. I'm a wife and mum to a very energetic toddler. Mm-hmm. I'm also the founder and the director of You and Me Publishing. My background is in marketing and communications. I have previously worked in the education sector, and I decided to pursue writing and publishing after the birth of my daughter at the beginning of the pandemic. And I would read to her, and I noticed that these amazing stories that were incredible, such as books as Gruffalo, Stickman, Tiger Who Came to Tea, they are absolutely amazing, but they lacked representation of my faith and my culture. And I grew up in West London, so I have always been surrounded by different cultures and faiths. And I felt that that was missing in children's picture books for quite some time. So I decided to take on that challenge. And You and Me Publishing is an independent publishing house, and we are dedicated to publishing child-centric and parent-friendly fiction, which is based on Islamic principles. We are also representing the different diverse cultures in society as well. So we wanted to share that ethos, and we wanted to shine a positive light on Islam by sharing stories that inspire children to open up their imaginations and be exposed to different cultures. And Islamic values are universal to everybody, so that is something that we wanted to share with everyone. And we decided to go down the independent publishing route because we wanted to have full creative freedom and commercial control. We wanted to control the narrative, and we didn't want our storytelling to be watered down. The audience that we catered to, in order to understand their needs of the audience, we created our set of values, which is to have integrity and adhere to the Islamic and moral principles in our storytelling, passion, creating beautiful, high-quality literature for children with beautiful illustrations, positivity. We are trying to change that narrative and shine a positive light on Islam in the mainstream media, and of course we are trying to do this. And courage to be authentic and represent the diverse communities in Islam, because not all Muslims come from an Asian or an Arab background.
What's been the response?
It's been quite positive. We have had some events in libraries and libraries recently, and I've had people from various backgrounds come to me and say there is a need for this, regardless of your background, whether you're Muslim or not, or Asian, or wherever you're from, you need to see a diverse depiction and representation in children's books.
My colleague has a few questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Good morning, Nadia Rehman. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to ask you, what would you say is the most difficult part of writing a book?
knowing the right time to go to print. There's no such thing as perfection. I think for me, by the 12th edit, I'm sure it was more than that, with major gaps in between writing, I was ready to bite the bullet and take the leap into publishing. But you have to weigh up the risk. Sometimes we stop ourselves from moving forward because of the fear of failure. But also avoid looking at what everyone else is doing. It's great to see what other authors are doing, but don't let it stop you from what you're doing. Comparison will kill your flow. So just focus on your why and your values, and don't try and keep up with what somebody else is doing. Focus on yourself and your writing and what your values are.
Great, thank you. I think we can squeeze in one more question before the 8 o'clock news. We're discussing the London Book Fair. Could you tell us about your experience, and was this the first time you attended the London Book Fair?
Yeah, sure. So this was our first experience at London Book Fair, and it was a fulfilling experience, meeting like-minded people who shared the love of the written word. There was a huge buzz, as I believe it was the first event since the pandemic. Everyone was very excited. It was amazing to see young people such as Iram Fuzzle, who is the founder and director of Asian Women's Writing Network, and it was inspiring to see young talent on the main stage, and I loved the experience. I learned so much from people who I engaged with, to attending workshops that were incredible. You take away so much from them. And hearing from the experts, I realized that You and Me Publishing is going in the right direction, which is to change the negative narrative about Islam and really owning that space. I would highly recommend to anyone who's a writer or a publisher to attend next year. There is also a writers' summit which takes place at Chelsea Town Hall, which is not too far from Olympia. And you get to meet other agents and publishers and readers and get tips and industry advice. As an independent publisher, you have the opportunity to access information which isn't widely available. You get to speak to suppliers, engage and it's face-to-face conversations. You get to pitch your brand. So there's a range of skills that you get to practice, for example, selling. Even if you've not had the experience before, you now have the opportunity to sell what you have to offer to someone who knows nothing about you, nothing about your business, and is in the position of influence. And if you're a writer, I would highly recommend going on next year, because you have the opportunity to be face-to-face with someone someone who is one of the most influential names in the publishing business. And it might be scary, but you must also realize that these people that are in these positions, are most likely writers themselves, so they know how you feel, and they want you to own your story and really have passion. And if you're going to pitch your ideas, you also need to know your audience, who you are writing for. Publishers are interested when they have seen that you have done the research and you know your audience, because you are not writing for everyone. And for me, as an independent publisher, you get to go on the hunt for new business, new opportunities, and the possible opportunity of scaling your business. It's a great opportunity to learn, especially from the more established independent publishers. And I have only positive to say about the event. It's an amazing event, and I would highly recommend going.
And what was the turnout of the event? What did you think? What was the response from the public?
Well, I could see that everyone was very excited to engage with other people. There was lots of different stands. I also noticed that there were different communities from faith-based groups. I myself identify as an Ahmadi Muslim, and it was great to see members of the community there also spreading the message of peace to the different delegates, because it was a great opportunity to understand and learn from each other. So I'm sure everyone that was there was very excited.
Fantastic. Nadia Rehman, CEO of You and Me Publishing, an independent publishing house. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your expertise on this particular subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Right.